families would do it. Like, can I get into that? I was like, you don't need to get into that. Mummy and Daddy need to spend all their time inside the mat.
Do you do that
so I'm
now
hoping
to recover?
I am starting that now, so I'm hoping it's going to work miracles. And when you see me on the campus, I'll be a new woman. I won't be creaking. I'll actually be flying it.
Yeah, which is, you know what, I'd say you're putting an awful lot of people off going back. Is that sort of case? Let me read you Carmel's text, right? 51051, and many more besides. But I picked Carmel because it's obviously changed her life. I'm a 53-year-old mother of 3 teens who's never played team sports before. She says, I enjoy walking and would have run the odd 5k. At the start of last year, I was invited to join our local Gaelic Mothers and Others team, and it's been a revelation. I'm so thankful that I'm well enough to be involved, she says. I've never been fitter in my life, and the women I've met are fantastic. We played in Corky Cleave last year, and this year we're hoping to play in New York. The social side is exciting, and I've made some great friends, and my mental health has improved. I feel like I'm setting a great example to my kids, and my husband has taken up indoor soccer to try and keep up with me, says Carmel. Congratulations to those who set up the organisation, and thanks to the local women who set up my GM40 team. Greena Abu, says Carmel. Do you relate to that in any way?
Well, fair play to Carmel, because that's exactly the way it should feel. The reality is, how many people are sitting at home today at Cork and they're saying, God, I'd love to do that, but I don't know, would I fit in, would I be okay, would I be able for it? The answer to all of those things is absolutely yes, because there's a level for you to play at now and enjoy it. I have never felt better, and you might say, 40, geez, there's a big push at that age for people to try to get out and to stay active. I've actually never felt better. Still playing basketball, still playing football, my husband plays, and a big part of it is exactly what Carmel said. I'm a big advocate of your children seeing you being active and being what you want them to be. Like, both of us are in our 40s now, our kids are extremely active. If they do nothing else in sport other than play it into their 30s and 40s, I'll be a really happy parent, and I think that's a really positive message to give them. And listen, I can be out on the green playing with them all I want and trying to coach them and tell them to play, but actually having them watching me going out the door, and more importantly coming back in the door in one piece, is really important to them as well.
Yeah, the example is really important, and I'm joking, of course, but 40 is not old. It's not old at all. No, it's not. I mean, to be doing competitive sport or sport at any level. Dee says, I play Gaelic for mothers, and oh my God, she says, it's so competitive. I won't mention the clubs or the club or the club that I play against or for. I play and I take it very seriously, and they take it very seriously, says Dee. Sorry, I mangled your text, Dee. Is it as competitive as that for mothers and others?
Yeah, well, I've heard it is. Actually, my colleagues Ivani Crillon and Marie Crowe both play Gaelic for mothers, and they went to New York this year on a trip as well. And both of them would tell you it was the best decision they ever made. Neither of them had played football again in probably about 10 years. Went back to it. They have a whole new social network. They've never been fitter. The pair of them are probably in the gym a couple of days a week as well, and they're loving it. I've never felt better. So, look, I do think there is probably a stigma out there that for women as well, we've often maybe, you know, once you have kids, your priorities change and you're putting other people's needs before your own. But I do actually genuinely think looking after your own physical health and your mental health, you're going to feel better for it, and your kids are going to get more out of you for having the energy too. So I totally agree with both Dee and what Carmel have said. I think they're absolutely right.
Well put. Who will follow Jackie Hurley to training and gym and ice baths and all that goes with it? 51051. Well done. You're an inspiration to somebody. Jackie Hurley, thank you very much indeed for that. Now, as I say, 51051 on that or any other topic we've discussed throughout the programme. We did ask, to go back for a second to another conversation we had, we did ask Bus Éireann about their policy in relation to their restriction on school bus drivers over 70. And here's some of what they said. Safety is a core value for Bus Éireann and is our first priority for all operations. In acting in the best interest of the safe operation of the school transport scheme, we've also reviewed external studies which show how risk of collision is increased for drivers of large vehicles over the age of 70. Our judgment, they say, is that this is not a risk which should be taken given the scale of the scheme, which now delivers over 9,000 routes in the country, and the safe transport of the 162,000 plus children availing the school transport scheme remains our first priority. Bus Éireann welcomes the opportunity in the scheme review announced today to expand access to the scheme so that an additional 100,000 pupils can be carried by 2030. We have significant recruitment campaigns underway, they say, and we're filling positions on an ongoing basis, and that from Bus Éireann.
Gilbert Arena after 7 o'clock this evening. Enda McGrattan talks to us about his film Pregnant with a Drag Queen, which tells us about how drag doesn't change who you are, it reveals who you are. And Choice nominee Rachel Lavelle and singer-songwriter Sorcha Richardson look forward to the Imagining Ireland series at the National Concert Hall. That's Arena this evening here on RTE Radio 1.
Feast on the best of Ireland with Dunnes Stores. Enjoy board veal quality assured meat, like an unsmoked centre-cut ham fillet, now 20% off. With fresh vegetables like green cabbage, just 49 cents. Fresh fish caught daily on our shores, like organic Irish mussels. And local top quality cheeses, now 3 for 2 at Dunnes Stores. Plus, you'll save the till of our 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher to be used in next grocery shop for 50 euro or more.
With a high digital online skills course, you'll feel a real difference.
I can listen to all the music I like. The bus app that's coming out, and it's brilliant.
Anything you want to know, it's at your fingertips.
They're small things, but they mean something.
Learn essential online skills with simple, accessible lessons at highdigital.ie or free phone 1800 20 30 30. Brought to you by Vodafone Foundation and Alone. Vodafone. Together we can. Ready to go all in on your electric journey? Then you're ready for the all-electric Toyota BZ4X. Powered by a long-life battery from Ireland's most trusted car brand. Guaranteed to retain at least 70% capacity for 10 years or 1 million kilometres. Subject to an annual EV health check. The new Toyota BZ4X. Test drive it today at your local dealer. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply. See toyota.ie. RTE Radio 1.
12 men, a life in the balance. One verdict. The record-breaking West End production of 12 Angry Men comes to Bord Gáis Energy Theatre for 1 week only, from the 16th to the 20th of April. Jason Merrills leads an all-star cast in this gripping courtroom drama that will have you on the edge of your seat. The critics called it brilliant, riveting, and a triumph. Tickets available now. BordGáisEnergyTheatre.ie.
Entertainment updates on RTE Radio 1.
Drive time on RTE Radio 1. Sponsored by Zurich. Zurich Savings, an alternative home for your savings. Visit Zurich.ie to find out more.
Drive time on RTE Radio 1. Listen back on the RTE Radio app.
Average earnings rose last year, but well behind the pace of inflation. That's according to the CSO. Adam McGuire from our business desk has more on this. So, Adam, how much more were people earning last year?
A little over 2% more on average, according to the CSO, 2.1% to be precise. Its latest earnings and labour cost survey showed that average hourly earnings were €28.43 by the end of December 2023, which is 58% higher year on year. The average number of hours worked stayed the same, so the average weekly earnings rose by 2.1% as well by the end of last year to €921.81. And of course, we know that consumer prices rose by 4.6% last year, so that means that extra earnings that the average person did enjoy in 2023 was more than eaten up by price increases. But that is the average. The reality may differ on a case-to-case basis depending on the number of factors. So we know inflation tends to hit the lower paid harder for a start, and a 2.1% pay increase to a high earner is obviously going to be worth a lot more in real terms than the same percentage increase to someone who's closer to the minimum wage. And the sector you're in may be having a bearing too. The arts, entertainment, recreation and other services activity sector, for example, saw average weekly earnings rise by nearly 10% last year. But whatever about how much extra employees were getting, employers did face higher labour costs beyond wages. The category there for other labour costs would include everything from PRSI to pensions contributions, benefit in kind and so on. That was up 7.4% in the last quarter of last year to €4.94 per hour. Moving to retail, and a bidding war may be about to kick off for electronics retailer Currys, or at least that's what they're hoping for. The British retailer has rejected a second bid from US activist investor Elliott Advisors, which would have valued the firm at somewhere between £740 and £750 million. That's up on the roughly £700 million bid it rejected earlier this month. It's also the first bid Elliott has made since word began that Chinese online retail giant JD.com might be mulling a bid of its own. Currys has been on the British high street for close to 100 years. It started out as a bicycle retailer, but about 3 years ago it was chosen as the brand under which Dixon's, PC World, Carphone Warehouse and the existing Currys shops would all amalgamate. Today it operates not only in Ireland and the UK, of course, but also Sweden, Norway, Denmark and Finland, and it just recently agreed to offload its Greek retail division. And that European network of stores and warehouses and what's seen as a low valuation at the moment seems to be what's piqued the interest of JD.com, which is trying to gain a foothold in this market to counter a slowdown in domestic demand. Elliott, meanwhile, has a history of investing in retail, including bookstores, Barnes & Noble and Waterstones in the UK. It's also said to be eyeing a bid for the Body Shop Group, which recently entered administration. But whoever is interested, the clock is ticking on them making that happen. Britain's takeover regulator has given would-be bidders up until mid-March to make a firm offer for Currys, after which they'll have to walk away empty-handed.
Alan Maguire, thank you very much indeed for that. Now, let me tell you about tonight's Spotlight on BBC Northern Ireland. It details how some young people in the north are being forced into sex and criminality to pay off drug debts. Nicola O'Connor is West Belfast addiction and suicide support worker is with me now on the line. Nicola, you're very welcome to the programme.
Hello, thank you.
What's happening to these young people?
Well, first and foremost, we don't call them addicts, we call them self-medicators. So due to a trauma in their life, they're self-medicating to blank out that trauma, which is where they then become addicted to be able to, in high levels. What you'll notice is a lot of drug dealers are allowing our youth to grow debts up because there's more money in the sex industry than what there is in the drug industry. So then your dealer will sell your debt off and then you'll be handed an address.
My goodness. And how are they forced to do it, to ask a stupid question, Nicola?
Most of them aren't forced to do it. Most of them think that this address is where they're just going to explain to someone that they'll be paying their debt off at a certain date, or that they think they're just going to get a slap in the back of the hand to tell to get the money by a certain date. They don't realise whenever they go to most of these addresses, then they're being gang raped.
And are they brought to the addresses or are they just given the address and told to go?
Both. They're given the address or they're sent the address.
Is it mostly men or women or boys or girls or?
Both. It doesn't. They don't really in this industry. They don't care. They don't care what sex they are. They don't care what male they are. It could be a male youth going to an address thinking he's going to pay a bill. It could be a group of males thinking that a female's walking through the door and it's a male, and truthfully, they really don't care.
They don't care. How widespread is it?
A lot larger than what society actually thinks and society actually knows. It's huge.
Which is why I suppose tonight's Spotlight programme on BBC One is so important to highlight all of this. And people, as you say, self-medicate because of a trauma and then they become addicted. And I know you have experience with drugs and drug debt in your own family, because I was told you lost your son Eamon to suicide about 6 years or so ago, and I'm so sorry, because it never gets easier, I'm sure. But you believe, Nicola, that he died because of a drug debt?
At the time Eamon died, on the morning that Eamon was only dead a few hours when his belongings started being left into a business at the top of the White Rock. His phone, his bank card, watch, different pieces that he'd left with dealers until he paid them off.
My goodness, and I go back to that phrase, Nicola, that you said, they don't care. They really don't care, do they?
They really don't care. Most of these debts, we're not talking about, at the time that my son would have died, he would have owed big debts, but now these aren't big debts, these are small debts. So they are, and that's the reason why. There's a lot of small debts, and the amount of our youth that's now actually starting to accept it, and they're now starting to go into prostitution to be able to get their next fix. So it's now starting to become like a bit of a regular. We've different fees and different aspects to it all, but the biggest thing that a lot of people aren't taking on in those spotlights, highlighting the paramilitaries and the sex industry that's coming out of it. But we're not looking at the bigger pictures where our research is coming from. But in the next few years, we're going to see a huge increase in our mental health if we don't put a clamp on it now. Which means we're also going to see a huge clamp on the suicide rate.
Yeah. And we certainly don't have enough time to go into it properly, but can I ask you briefly, how do you put a clamp on it? How do you fix it?
Well, as the BBC cut me off today, I mean, we can go around in circles talking about drug dealers and paramilitaries, but we've got to work out where do they get the power to be able to do what they're doing in our communities, and that's coming up from those in higher places.
Okay, and look, we'll definitely have you back on, Nicola, at a later date to talk about this in great detail, because I know you work in West Belfast, you're an addiction and suicide support worker. Can I thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme today to preview that Spotlight programme which will be aired on BBC One Northern Ireland tonight at 10:40 p.m. It's on the BBC iPlayer as well. My thanks to Nicola O'Connor, and that's all we have time for today. The programme produced by Dave Sherry, researched by Andrew Fleming, our BCO was Emily Hurley, and Tommy O'Sullivan was on sound. A read about Sean Rocks is up next, but when your father drives out, small and goodbye.
Drive Time on RTE Radio 1, sponsored by Zurich. When investment performance matters, make sure your savings are with Zurich. Visit zurich.ie to find out more.
Thanks very much, Carl. Coming up on the programme this evening, Choice nominee Rachel Lavelle is live in studio to perform for us, and singer-songwriter Sarah Richardson will look forward together they will look forward to the Imagining Ireland series at the National Concert Hall. And César and Cannes winner and Oscar-nominated director and writer Kauthar Ben-Haniyeh talks to us about blurring the lines between documentary and feature film in her much-loved work, Four Daughters. Nation is still in England, a living Kieran Farmer.
Sean goes to America, Joe Biden, which is so creative Israel, did it a couple of the immediately Gaza, the Ritmi, Ramadan. She me balance the Muslims, Muslim. So such a shame edit devil dog water. There was a talk around Biden fresh and gold sulating the Messas Coga on the Delun Shahogan. Toish freshen from all which I guess in Europe by Hezbollah, Senegal, they are family of Israel, Mohammed, the Lord Division Hamas, and 4 inches from what she called it, Israel. According to Europe, the man of the year, we need 40 million out of this rally and outlaw of it. The first part of the water. Things are all made in the ceiling of Europe, but planning has come up. We need for that for you. And we need to be able to become the responsibility to the theater. I am here for But can the 40 loch dive live and back to the Canada Martin with just she Carlo or Darcy as supposed to do it in Turkish, August number 8 planet with Kirby she in the issue. August that she would have quite critical active got pretty focused in and on and off. August that she tossy hand here with them as a effect of do RCE. Of course, Helen Ford the Black and you, those IP Joel, not less than smart falling, but by no crash it.